Government officials across this country have embraced the Chinese model in responding to the Wuhan virus. And in doing that, they put millions of fellow Americans out of work. Earlier this month, we talked to a man who's thought a lot about work, Mike Rowe, and he explained another approach, not simply to work, but to life. He calls it safety third. It turned out to be one of the more interesting conversations we've had this year, and so we've asked him to come back and expand a little bit. Mike Rowe is the host of one of the biggest shows in digital media. It's called Returning the Favor. It airs on Facebook. He's also the author of The Way I Heard It. He joins us now. Mike, great to see you. So safety third, those words have been kind of reverberating in my head like a BB in a bowl ever since you were on. And I'm wondering, as people go into New Year's and think about how they want to approach 2021, translate that idea into sort of the posture they should bring with them as they go into a new year.
Sure. We have a tendency in our culture to overreach with every single thing we try and correct. We always go too far. And the safety first bromide, the platitude, the trope has been with us for a long, long time. And it relies primarily, it came out of an attempt to improve occupational safety. And the emphasis, whenever you see a safety first banner and sit through a safety first presentation, what you're going to see is a lot of emphasis on rules, regulation, and compliance. But of course, just because you're in compliance doesn't mean you're out of danger. That was one of the great lessons from Dirty Jobs, and something most people don't disagree with who have been out there in the world. Saying safety third is not to suggest that we should engage in risky behavior that's not necessary. It's just an attempt to inject a little bit of personal responsibility into the equation. Because the unintended consequence of saying safety first to a worker over and over and over, again and again and again, the unintended consequence of telling your customers, for instance, that their safety is your top priority is to create a level of complacency that ultimately negates the role of personal responsibility when it comes to coming home in one piece. So that's the basis of the conversation. I put it on masks because I love the irony of a cloth mask that says safety third that allows you to be in compliance, but in fact will probably not keep a microscopic germ from getting into your system or out.
That's the most subversive thing I've heard in a long time. So, safty third
it gets
also okay, go ahead.
Well, it's not just subversive. It's actually diabolically opportunistic and capitalistic because we've sold thousands to raise money for our work ethic scholarship program. We have over $300,000 come in as a result of selling safety third masks to people who understand that they need to be in compliance, even if, in fact, they are not entirely out of danger. It's opened up a mind-boggling conversation online. And thanks for starting it. It's kept the conversation lively.
It also suggests that, like, there's another point to life distinct from just preserving it. Like, you have to live it at some point, too.
The funny thing that happened when you and I talked about this last, I mentioned in passing an essay by C.S. Lewis called How to Live in the Atomic Age.
Yes.
Where he answered this similar question back, I think it was in 1948. People were saying, how are we supposed to even function knowing that the bomb is out there and that people have the bomb? And of course, the answer is the same way you function when you don't know if the Vikings are going to show up on your shore with swords and rape and pillage and do all of this thing we've dealt with this year is a very serious thing, but it's one more thing. It's not a new thing, even though we called it novel. It's another thing that can frighten us and terrify us and put us in a place where for a brief period, we will treat our safety like it is the most important thing. But fundamentally, Tucker, we're not a safety first nation. We're a safety third nation. And we might take steps and we might do things along the way to focus on our long-term preservation. And that's smart, but it's not sustainable. You can't live your whole life as if the entire purpose of your existence is to merely stay alive.
I don't know how it fell to you to become one of America's most important philosophers, but I'm glad it has. I really am. Mike Rowe, great to see you.
It's kind of a big deal. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
You too.